$6 billion in profit in just 3 months. Bank of America netted more than $4 billion. An earnings miss after the bell from Netflix, which spent a lot more money creating new shows and expanding overseas, but it signed up fewer new subscribers than it expected to. Square, which makes a mobile payment system that plugs into your smartphone or tablet, filing to launch an initial public stock offering, putting a value on the startup at $275 million. And a setback in housing, mortgage applications last week tumbling 38%, but that's coming off an 8-month high just the week before. I'm Tom Busby, CNBC.
Thinking about switching to LED bulbs? There's never been a better time because this Friday through Sunday, it's Ace's biggest ever buy 2, get 1 free LED sale. Buy any 2 select LED bulbs and get 1 free. Hurry in to mix and match from our best-selling, longest-lasting LED bulbs and save on your energy costs. Only at Ace.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Buy 2 select Fight LED bulbs, get 1 of equal or lesser value free. While supplies last, store stock only at participating stores October 16th through the 18th. See store for details.
We were rolling down this road in
Anbar Province.
All of a sudden
There's a huge explosion.
We knew right away.
It was an IED.
Then we started taking sniper fire
and RPGs from the hills.
Today's servicewomen face the same combat dangers as men.
It's pretty amazing.
We made it out alive.
But at home, women veterans face different challenges. DAV understands this and fights to get women veterans the health, disability, and financial benefits they were promised. Visit DAV.org for free help.
Consider this your invitation to sell. At buysellmakeoffer.com, you can sell as much as you want for the next 60 days without paying any fees whatsoever. Sound incredible? It is, and it's true. Buysellmakeoffer.com is the new exciting way to sell your stuff online. Make extra money right now. Sell your old car, furniture, video games, household items, clothes, even your home. Sell anything that's legal. Load up your stuff to sell right now at buysellmakeoffer.com. This is your official invitation to get on board to sell your stuff right now. Free for the next 60 days. And once you see how easy it is, you'll want to sign up for more because there are no item fees. That's right. Take this opportunity to move items from the other guys and sell it for free. You might even win a Samsung tablet, Amazon gift cards, and other cool prizes. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the future of online selling. You can use Skype to talk to your buyer or seller. Plus, you can use video to showcase your items. BuySellMakeOffer.com.
Good afternoon. It's 3:03. I'm Di Rice with the latest in live local news here on Kcaa 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. Midday gunfire in San Bernardino killed a 22-year-old Corona man yesterday. Lorenzo Battle died at St. Bernardine Medical Center soon after the 12:37 p.m. shooting along the 1600 block of East Eureka Street. Witnesses reported that another man was injured, but officers could not find a second victim. The homicide was preceded by an argument in front of an apartment complex. 2 men fled the scene after the shooting. And a bomb threat temporarily closed a Corona gas station and prompted the arrest of a 31-year-old Chino man. The threat was reported at 8:37 yesterday morning at an Arco AM/PM at 1402 East Ontario Avenue. Police were summoned by the gas station's manager, who reported that the man had claimed there were bombs inside his black Mazda 6 parked next to the gas pumps. The store manager immediately shut down the store and told customers that the station had run out of gas to avoid causing a panic. Gentry Lee Good II was arrested for investigation of being under the influence of drugs and was taken to Riverside County Regional Medical Center in Moreno Valley for a 72-hour mental health evaluation. The evacuation was lifted at 11:45. Inland Empire weather, chance of showers today, highs near 90, greater chance of showers tomorrow with high near 84. Overnight lows tonight about 70. Currently it's 92 degrees here in San Bernardino. Checking out your drive, not bad at all out there. There's just one off-ramp blocked on the 215 northbound at 2nd Street, so don't take that exit. And that is the very latest with news, weather, and traffic. Stay tuned for What's It All About coming up in 1 minute on KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM.
For those of you traveling by air to celebrate this holiday season, LA Ontario International Airport wants you and your family to have a fun and safe trip. For your convenience,
remember TSA travel rules are for your safety and those of others. LA Ontario International Airport reminds you to arrive early and check with your airlines for flight delays or cancellations.
ONT offers 62 daily flights to 15 nonstop western cities. This year, Santa brings your airport the Pause Pet Assisting with Smiles stress relief program. So, make sure to stop and pause a while, then sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight. For more airport information, please visit us at lawa.org.
Good afternoon, greetings, and welcome to What's It All About? This is Dr. Donald Jolly Gabriel, and hopefully we'll have some interesting things to talk about today. I know Dr. J's on the line, our philosopher and friendly theologian and the taker of messages from our message lines. I want to remind each and every one of you how precious you are, how incredibly valuable you are as a human person, and the responsibility that we all have to really fulfill our purpose. And as we discussed several weeks ago, purpose is really the same for everything that lives, everything that is on the earth, and everything that doesn't live, in terms of the same way we live, and with living tissue and consciousness and those kinds of things. And that is to take what you can get appropriately and give it all back one way or another, and everything does that. The oceans do that. They take all the water from all sources from all over the earth, and they give it all back without counting the cost through the process of evaporation, which is where rain comes from. And the rain falls down, and the rain, in giving it back, doesn't just get things wet. It provides life. Every single thing, every tree we plant, every seed, takes all it can get, uses it, and gives it all back in greater abundance than it received. And that's what we're supposed to do too. We're supposed to grow and to learn, taking everything we can, meaning all we can learn, taking the best care of ourselves, doing the best we can to do the very best, and then give it all back. Give it all back by loving people, by being concerned, by being generous, by working hard, by being sensitive and loving and kind to one another. That's how we can fulfill our purpose. So think about that. Make that a product of your meditation for a few days and see if it doesn't sink in and give you some inspiration. Dr. J, are you on the line?
I say amen to that.
Amen, amen. So be it, right?
Yes, it's all part of evolution. And, you know, the most amazing part about what you said is that all living things, even those inanimate objects like the rocks and everything is evolving. Even God is evolving.
Well, I hope so.
Becoming more.
More. The universe is evolving. You know, I remember, speaking of the universe, I remember I gave a lecture one time on, well, more than one time, but I gave this specific lecture on spirituality, and we were talking about spirituality and healing. And somewhere along the line, the fact came up that there have been identified, and I don't know how they count these things or even estimate it, but there have been identified within our range of vision to be 300 billion heavenly bodies. 300 billion. That freaked me out. That's a lot of heavenly bodies, a lot of planets, a lot of stars, a lot of whatever it is up there. And I thought, oh my gosh, there has to be a God. Has to be a God. Can't be without it. What kind of stuff have you figured out is on our...
Oh, my goodness. People have been complaining, all kinds of things.
Complaining? What are they complaining about?
Well, here's the first thing they're complaining about. Why am I having trouble sleeping?
Why are they having trouble sleeping?
Yes.
Well, probably because they're drunk when they go to bed, or they don't exercise enough, or they're not properly hydrated, or they don't have a bed that helps them sleep, or they're full of stress, or God only knows. I mean, did they give you any specific elements?
You know, actually, it's related to several other things that are kind of hooked in there. For instance, this one person who was having trouble with a bit of a what do you call it? A type of person that doesn't sleep well.
Insomniac. An insomniac.
Yeah, gee, we got lucky. And this person asked a very legitimate question. One minute he's kind of crying and complaining, and the next he's saying something very profound. He said, "Why do I forget my dreams?"
Well, everybody forgets their dreams. Do you know that? Everybody forgets their dreams. We forget 90% of our dreams within 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes. So if we don't wake up right away, we're not going to remember most of our dreams. And I'm talking probably 90% or more of our dreams. So that's a fact. We have to understand that. If we want to remember the dreams and record them somehow, or write them down, or put them on a tape recorder or something, we can work on programming ourselves to wake up after the completion of a dream, and it generally works. It doesn't always work, but it generally works. If any of our listeners have someone who is a hypnotherapist around, they can ask them to do a little bit of work with them, and more likely than not, they can succeed in awakening after their dreams. But dreams are just naturally something that we experience. They probably have an effect on us psychologically and emotionally, and then they go away. And they probably are basically fulfilling a function of helping us experience or re-experience or practice experiencing something. So that's something to remember, that 90% of them we forget within 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So,
well, it seems to me that it all has to also do with our processing, our mental and emotional processing, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, it does, but it is biologically, emotionally, intellectually implanted into our being to forget those dreams. Otherwise, who knows what would happen? We would have a compilation of memories that might confuse us or cause us emotional distress. Who knows? I don't have a clue.
Well, like, for instance, not knowing whether or not we dreamed it or it's something that we were supposed to do today.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know that. I just know that
it's kind of like, well, I'm getting an inference from you that it's like living in two worlds. You've got your world, but if you remembered everything, that confuse the two, and you could cause yourself problems.
Yeah, there are ways yeah, you're right. There are ways that we can learn dreaming, lucid dreaming. We can remember our dreams. But it's like anything else. You have to practice it. You have to know the techniques, and then you have to practice them. It's like knowing, first of all, in order to make something, you have to know the recipe. And then you can sit with a recipe all day long and nothing happens. You have to go buy the stuff, and then you have to put it together according to the instructions. And then you may or may not come up with a really fine product. It depends on how careful you are in following the recipe.
For sure.
So hey, I'm available from time to time myself. I'm in San Bernardino from time to time, and I could play. We could play the game of trying to learn more about dreams and do some hypnotherapy and things. I'm open to that. I'm open to a lot of things that can help us grow. We just need to get input from people and see if they want to participate in anything, and then we can set it up.
Well, I think that's one of the things that makes you so wonderful is the fact that you are that way. I find you so broad in your horizons of things and your ability to put things together. I think of myself as a universalist, where I embrace everything and take pieces from everything and see the oneness and the sameness and the continuity in things that seem to be so different.
Well, I went to school literally until I was 49 years old, regularly. I used to drive into L.A. to UCLA. I used to drive to Woodbury University, sometimes 4 nights a week. I never quit going to school from the time I was in the kindergarten, actually, nursery school, I guess, until I was 49 years old. And I got so much stuff in my brain that I want to experience a lot of it. And you know what? You have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to experience it in order to experience it, or you don't experience it.
That's right.
So I hope that makes some sense. And I'm still...
Now, back to this,
yeah,
this guy with the sleeping thing. I'd like to dwell on that a little bit more, because there's a lot of medications, and there's so many people that have trouble sleeping and are complaining about it. And I think the stress and what you already said, but I think there's more to it than that. Would you like to pursue that any more than just the casualness of your observation?
Well, yeah, first of all, don't drink any caffeine after 3 o'clock, period. None.
Okay.
Stop caffeine after 3 o'clock. Anything with caffeine in it, and you'd be surprised, stuff has caffeine in it that we may not even know. And
the drinks, for instance.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff has caffeine in it. Some
yeah.
candy bars have it. A lot of things have it. So what we need to do is remember to do that. Another thing that we can do is, first of all, establish a sleeping pattern. A sleeping pattern. Another thing that's very, very important is our sleeping room, our bedroom, should be a sleeping room. If we can develop a really pure sleeping room, and I remember from days in the monastery, because that's what our rooms were, sleeping rooms. We had no radio, no clock, nothing. We had nothing but a bed and a simple table that we could use to do our assignments, and a chair that was horribly uncomfortable, and a light. And that was it. So there wasn't much we could do except sleep. We'd go in there and we'd have to have lights out by 9 o'clock. That was a rule. Lights out 9 o'clock or you're in deep trouble. And you sleep. I slept like a baby. The years I was I never had any problems sleeping. I had no clock. I couldn't tell what time it was. The great bell, we called it the great bell, rang certain times to remind us of things. Our wake-up call came at 4:45 in the morning, and that was the bell rang 3 times. It was a ding-dong that one of the monks had to go out and pull a long rope in the tower and ring the bell, and that was to let us know we had to get up. And then we had a bell that rang 10 minutes before we were supposed to kneel and be kneeling in the chapel, and we knew to get our butts ready and get out the door and get in the chapel. And then after the meditation and the Mass, we had to have quiet prayer. At the end of quiet prayer, the bell rang again. We knew we had to go to breakfast. You know, our life was run by bells. We were totally unconscious of time. So that's an interesting thing. Some people could try that in some aspects of their life. I would recommend that you do it with sleeping. You do it with sleeping. You have an alarm, set an alarm. Don't worry about what time it is. Just set an alarm. Go to bed whenever you go to bed, and wake up and get in the habit of doing it. And your entire psyche, your brain, your mind, your body will eventually understand that room is for sleeping. Don't read in there. Don't watch television in there. Don't listen to the radio in there. Go in there and sleep. And pretty soon it will help you develop better sleeping habits. That
makes sense. That makes perfect sense to me.
Well, I know, it should make sense, but even if it doesn't, try it. I think you can make it happen. There was a study done by people who drink some tart cherry juice. It has a lot of melatonin and tryptophan in it, and the study increased by an average of 87 minutes the nightly sleeping time. And everybody that participated in the study. Melatonin is the precursor for serotonin, and serotonin is one of the hormonal substances that helps activate sleep. So that may be a good thing too. And I'd stay away from sugar, but I'm telling everybody stay away from sugar. Sugar's an evil demon from the deepest, darkest pit of hell. And after 3 or 4 months of no sugar, your life will change. And I think your sleeping habits will be helped a little bit. And if you do a lot of a little bit, it's like building a building out of bricks. If you have 5 bricks, well, forget it. It's not going to work. But if you have 10,000 bricks and you put them together one by one by one by one by one, pretty soon you have a building. And that's the way it is with almost anything in our life. What other things do we have from the great?
Well, the next thing that we had was the people complaining about wanting to know more about Alzheimer's, and specifically they wanted to know the difference between men and women in getting Alzheimer's. Is one more prone to it than the other? But it seems to be there's a lot of fear around this Alzheimer's.
Well, Alzheimer's disease is a horrible disease, and apparently caused by some plaque deposits that somehow get in the brain, and where they come from, I don't know if anybody knows. There are certain chemicals and substances that if we run short of, we can have symptoms of Alzheimer's. Whether it's diagnosable as Alzheimer's, I'm really not sure. But I know that a great deal more of women get Alzheimer's disease than men. A great deal more of women. So I think that we must be aware of. And I would, if we had enough interest, we get enough calls. And let me give that caller number now. The number is area code 949-680-1915, 680-1915 is the number. You leave any suggestions or questions or anything on that that recorded telephone answering line, and we'll get them and we'll deal with them on the show. So if you want to do a full-blown show on Alzheimer's, we can do it. Just enough of you call in and recommend it or ask for it, and we'll do it. What else is there?
Well, that sounds good. Okay. Covered that. Oh, this is an interesting subject, something that I haven't heard about in a while, and it has to do oftentimes with the things that we drink, and it's concerning sweeteners, the aspartame. And the question was, is it good or it's bad? And they wanted to know more about it, and that's a subject that over the years has cropped up repeatedly.
Okay, well, aspartame has always been the subject of defamation, just like fluoride is. Fluoride does have the capacity to slow down the development of tooth decay. It does. There's no question about it. What is fluoride? Why are there movements to get it out of the reach of people in water or toothpaste or whatever? Because it's a poisonous byproduct of the manufacturing process of aluminum, which costs the aluminum manufacturers millions of dollars to get rid of and to dispose of properly, because it is poisonous. So they did a lot of research to try to figure out what they could do with it, and they discovered that it does retard the progression of some types of cavities in teeth. It does. There's no question about it. It's minuscule, but it does. It works. So they paid a lot of money, do a lot of research. They sold the American Dental Association on that research, that hey, this stuff will help retard tooth decay. So if we have it in our body, if we drink it in water that's in our municipal water supply, and if we put it in toothpaste and put it in mouthwash, then it's going to retard the development of cavities. Well, will it do that? Yes, it will do that minusculely. It will do that. It helps do that, definitely. But remember, it's a poison. Lots of poisons exist in the world that we ingest every day. Once in a while, it's fine. Our body will eliminate the poison. But when there is a constant repetition of drinking that poison or using it one way or another in the body, it will build up certain levels of effect that cannot be very positive, in my personal, humble opinion. At that point, we can become toxic. And a lot of these, and I know I'm changing the subject onto fluoride, but I'm saying that because a lot of these other things, like these chemical additives that mimic sweetness, like aspartame, and like all of them, they are the same way. They are not good for the human body. They're not nutritious. They're not absorbed and go into the energy chain. They're not. They are chemical substances that eventually, when they accumulate in the body, will have some kind of adverse reaction. Sometimes your body handles it fairly well if you don't consume a lot of it, and it's no big deal. Other times it becomes up to a toxic level, and it will cause problems. The artificial sweeteners are known for being neurological toxins. Neurological toxins. That means they are more toxic on the neurological system, the nervous system, than anything else in the body, and they eventually come back to haunt you. And aspartame was just given a lot of publicity by Coca-Cola, saying, oh, they're getting rid of it. They recognize it's not a great thing. But you know what? All those things are that way anyway. So I don't know what's the worst. I really don't. I don't have a clue. But, you know, aspartame's gotten a really, really bad rap, and it deserves it. I think it deserves it. But is anything else better? I don't know.
Well, some of the health food people have got several things. One product, I'm having a senior moment. I apologize.
Stevia is great. Stevia is from a flower. From a flower, from God's holy flower, and it's non-toxic, and you get a little used to it. It's a sweetener, and there are others. You can find things in nature. Health food stores are a good place to go and explore with somebody who knows. But you know what is wrong with just learning how to eat something or drink it without having to have it taste sweet? We are so addicted to sugar. It's as addictive as heroin.
Indeed.
And we need sugar. There's sugar everywhere. Go to the market and look at cans of peas and cans of carrots and cans of cucumbers and cans of whatever. They're full of sugar. There's sugar in everything. So we're being taught to be addicted to sugar. And in my personal life, I'm trying to get away from that. I don't use much caffeine. Occasionally I have something, not much. I drink decaffeinated coffee in the morning. I have a little bit of it. I don't put any sweetener in it. I've just learned not to put sweetener in it because it's not good for me. I don't like it anyway. I don't want it. The sugar is evil demon from hell. So why should I expose my body to that stuff? It just takes a while to develop a habit. And once you do that, just like we developed a habit of thinking sugar is essential to life or we die, dry up, and blow away. That's not true at all. So anyway, what else?
Okay. I've had several complaints of people talking about having trouble getting an appointment with their doctors. And they said that in years gone by, these are older people who are retired and such, and they say that it's getting harder and harder to get an appointment with their doctor, and they want to know is it because people are more sick, or what's the cause of that?
Well, I am familiar with some statistics. You know, at our medical center, I see lots of stuff that comes in, and I read it, try to learn a little bit. There's been a real drop in the last 7 to 8 years of the number of doctors in private practice. Big drop. 62%, this is factual, 62% of all physicians in the United States in 2008 were in private practice treating patients, like your ordinary country doctor. They had an office, or they had several of them in an office working together, treating patients. Today, no, not even today. Today it's less than that. In 2013, it was 35%. Now it's estimated to be 31%. 31% of all the physicians in the United States are in private practice or in practice seeing patients. Fair. Well, what's happening to our healthcare system? You see. So I think that's the basic reason. I think that's the basic reason, and that's the reason why we have an incredible upsurge in two categories of medical professionals that are almost doctors that can do almost anything doctors can do, and they are nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. We have them at our medical center. If you don't have a real huge problem, you go have an appointment with a nurse practitioner. It's cheaper, and easier, and or the physician's assistant, and they can give you a prescription. They can do anything a doctor can do for all practical purposes in an in-office visit. They can order tests if things are too crazy, and they both have to have supervising physicians. The supervising physician has to be available by electronic communication with them at all times, or in the same center where they can go talk to them. In our case, they're right there next to them. Or they have to, and they have to review their files every month. They have to go over and sign off on the files to make sure that they're not off the beaten track on any treatment of certain diagnoses. So we're creating a whole new field of medical professionals that are very well educated and well paid, well educated and well paid. So that's what's happening. That's the way it is.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't know that.
You do now.
Yes, I certainly do.
Amen. I tell all the young people who want to go, and you know what, I tell you, this really pees me off. I won't say the word on the air, but it starts with a P. I guess you all know what that is. It really gets me crazy. I have all these young people who are working. They're all complaining they don't make enough money, and they're being cheated, and they need to make more money. And the bottom line is they're not willing to learn more. In this life, you are compensated by money in direct proportion to the difficulty it is to replace you. Period. That's it. That's the economic law. You will be paid as much as it is in the difficulty to replace you. So if it takes 4 days, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks to train you to do a job, you ain't going to be worth a lot of money. The more training you have and the more you can do, the harder it is to replace you, the more money you make. That's it. So you got to encourage people, learn, go to school, take classes, get units, get experience, get a certification, get something so that it makes you more valuable. And those that do make more money and go ahead in life, and those that don't bitch all their lives. So that's a little bit of advice I have for everybody. It is time for us to take a break. This is Dr. Donald Jolly Gabriel on Kcaa AM 1050 on your radio dial and FM 106.5 on your radio dial. So you can listen to AM or FM. Pretty soon, another FM station will be on. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy has only lately begun to gain recognition for treatment of chronic degenerative health problems, including stroke, diabetic ulcers, wound healing, brain injury, and many other disorders. Whenever blood flow and oxygen delivery to vital organs is reduced, healing can potentially be aided with hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Are you a candidate for hyperbaric oxygen therapy?
Contact Dr. Donald Jolly Gabriel, PhD, for a free consultation and see if this groundbreaking therapy can help you. Mention KCAA and get a free gift. Call toll-free 1-877-423-7986. That's 1-877-423-7986.
Or go to hyperbaric-solutions.com. That's www.hyperbaric-solutions.com.
Call toll-free right now, 1-877-423-7986. Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Behind on your payments or barely making minimums? Do your massive interest payments have you running like mad in circles? How long can you keep it up? Stop running. Let the Thomas & Law Group carefully plan your escape. The Thomas & Law Group has proven itself for over 18 solid years, helping thousands of people like you and me reclaim our financial future. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and offices in all 50 states. And the best part? There are no upfront fees at all. You won't pay a dime until the job's done. No upfront costs, no monthly fees, no banking fees. No other law firm does that. I'm a paid spokesperson, not a lawyer, and every case is different. But really, if you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt, call the Thomas & Law Group right away for a free, no-obligation consult with a trained legal analyst at 800-460-9790. Call now because you're tired of running in circles. 800-460-9790. 800-460-9790.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to KCAA AM and FM and soon to be double FM. Man, we're going to go around the world. This is fun. Well, Dr. J.
Yes, everybody. I'm still here.
What else?
And what's interesting is that so many of these problems that people have, they relate to our everyday lives as well. For example, one of the things that older people, our grandparents in particular, are noticing is the difference in the children. The children, they don't act like they did. They don't act, in many cases, what a lot of retired people would call normal. They just change so dramatically.
Dr. J, yes, of course I do. They grew up in a much more simple environment with much less input, and when you have much less input, you're going to be receiving more attention. Input is from other crap and stuff. Attention from people you love and parents and who caregivers or whatever. I think you know. My dear associate who has two beautiful children who are incredibly bright and intelligent. They get all the love and attention that they need and more on top of it. But they also have the other things that are probably diverting other kids' attention, but they have so much of the other attention, they're very well balanced. Many kids don't have that. They're too busy with all the stuff they're doing. They have little computer things when they're 3 and 4 years old they play with. That's how they find games on them. And I see these kids wandering around with their little boxes and playing with them and getting lost in them, and then as they grow up more and more, they get more lost in them until pretty soon it gives them everything but food. Everything but food. Their emotional needs, their sexual needs, God only knows what other needs, and they're boxed in. That is not good. It is not healthy. It is antisocial. It doesn't help you develop your emotional self, your social skills. It doesn't do any of that. So we are going to work into, by necessity, a methodology for achieving balance, or we are going to have a whole lot of imbalance, and we will pay the price. That's the way it is.
I think we're already paying the price.
Well, I do too. But we're paying a lot of prices. You know, we're not as grounded as we were. I don't know where all this stuff is coming from about how better off we'd be without God and without crosses and without any kind of mementos of our belief systems, and removing this and that and not allowing a nativity scene at Christmas or whatever. I mean, I don't know where it's leading us, but I think it's leading us to perdition. I think it's not going to be a good thing, and it's going to cause a great evolution in mankind, and we'll see where it goes. I don't know. Indeed. You know.
Well, I have another subject for you if you'd like to talk about it.
Oh, let's talk about it.
Okay, all right. A lot of people have a lot of habits, and they feel that they're okay and that they don't do any harm. But this one guy just came right out and asked me, he says, why is smoking bad for you? And he enjoys it, he loves it, he does it all the time, goes through a pack a day, smokes a cigar maybe once or twice a day, like after a meal or something, and he's enjoying his smoking tremendously. So he said, why is smoking bad for you?
Why is smoking bad for you?
That's the way he presented it.
Okay, well, let's take a look at something else, first of all. Why is sugar bad for you? We know that sugar causes blood sugar levels to go up. We know that when that happens, the brain knows that if the blood sugar levels get too high, it will die, which means you will die. So the brain causes your body to produce insulin, and you get a squirt of insulin. When you get that insulin activated, it lowers blood pressure. Or not blood pressure, but blood sugar, okay? So we know that. But we also know that the more you do that, if you eat a lot of sugar, you intentionally put sugar in your body a lot during the day, you have a lot of insulin spurts, and then pretty soon what happens is you develop insulin sensitivity. And when you develop insulin sensitivity, you no longer react to the insulin's prime job of lowering the blood sugar levels, and then you have diabetes. And most people die of diabetes and have incredible problems with their eyesight. Many go blind. Kidney failure. Many have kidney failure. And many have wounds that do not heal, and they require amputation. I'm not talking from imagination. I'm not talking from possibility, and I'm not talking from research. I'm with it every single day. I see patients that way every single day. I see them coming in told that they have to have an amputation because they cannot heal the gangrene that's the result of the insidious infection, that's the result of a lack of blood flow in the legs, that's a result of high sugar levels. And I tell them most of the time, I think we can save that leg. I think we can save that foot, or I think we can save that hand or arm or whatever it is by the application of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. But I don't want to even tell them that if they're not going to change their life. You know, what can I do? I can heal their wounds and they're going to go back and get them again and die? I don't want that to happen. I want them to reform their life. I want them to be able to understand why they shouldn't do what they're doing. And when they do, about 10% of them follow the rule and do it. The rest of them don't. Same is true with smoking. What is wrong with smoking? Number one, you already know I told you about insulin and insulin resistance and that stuff. So with smoking, it's this. We thrive on oxygen. We need oxygen, the number one fuel that our body needs. If we don't have oxygen, and it's the only thing that if we don't have for a certain number of minutes, which is very few, we die. We just die. There is no hope to save your life if you have no oxygen. You die. We bury you, we pray for you, and you're gone. Okay, so what do? We do our best to keep the oxygen flowing. We have to keep breathing. If somebody gets sick and their breathing mechanism isn't working enough and their O2 levels go down too low, you put them on oxygen. Put them on oxygen. So we know oxygen is the most important element our body needs. It's the only thing we have to refill every couple seconds, or 90 to 300 seconds, or else we die. So here's what happens. When you smoke any kind of thing, and that smoke enters your lungs, it gets in your lungs and it keeps oxygen from dissolving, from entering and becoming a part of your body, because the carbon monoxide acts against the oxygen. So if you smoke regularly, you're reducing your oxygen levels consistently. And oxygen not only supports life, it is the most important element for healing. So anything that starts to go wrong in your body is going to be less affected by your immune system. Anything. And it'll be less affected forever as long as you keep smoking. And your brain and your cells will be permeated by carbon monoxide. You might as well go suck exhaust from an automobile, because it does the same thing, and that's why people kill themselves by putting a hose from the exhaust pipe into the car. They can die very, very quickly because they're keeping, by that carbon monoxide, they are keeping the oxygen from dissolving into the blood. That's what's happening. So in a nutshell, that's why smoking is bad for you. Got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Well, what about other things? Now, I've heard things that it causes lung cancer, that it causes heart attacks, and other things.
Hey, I'm going to tell you about it. Oxygen is absolutely essential for the proper functioning of every organ of our body. And when there is not enough oxygen, those diseases will develop because oxygen slows down their developmental process. That's why we use hyperbaric oxygen therapy to fight many of these diseases. We put people in the hyperbaric chamber, increase their oxygen level by 200 to 300 to 400%, and it becomes a healing mechanism. It's a medication. Oxygen has been declared a drug by the FDA. I think you already know that. You've hung around our medical center enough to know that already. But the listeners don't know that. When I was playing high school football, I had my oxygen tank. Our whole team had their oxygen tank. Small, little, round oxygen tank about the size of a football. And we'd carry that thing around with us, and we'd suck up oxygen as we were on the bench waiting to go into the game. We'd suck up oxygen. And we thought it made us feel better and perform better, and it did. It did. And we could go buy it at the medical supply, give them a few bucks, and deposit on the little container, the tank, and then fill it up with oxygen and use it and take it back 2-3 times a week, fill it up. And we loved it. And we used our things at home, and it helped us study and helped me. I always used it when I studied for exams. I used hypnosis, and I used oxygen. And I got great grades, and I did everything, and my professors thought I was from heaven, and that was all a good thing. So oxygen, very, very important. And when you don't have it, you're in trouble. So what did the FDA do? I don't remember how long ago, about 35 years ago, I think. They declared oxygen a drug. It is now a drug, and it is necessary to have a prescription. You know, high school student can't go buy their little oxygen bottle anymore. Nobody can. If you need oxygen, the doctor has to prescribe it. It's now a drug. Why is it a drug? Because they took it over and made it a drug, because it does what some drugs do. It does different things at different dosable levels. If you have certain problems with an infection, for example, we may give you 100 milligrams of Cipro maybe twice a day. If you weigh so much, you're a tiny person or a kid or whatever. If you weigh bigger, we might give you 200 milligrams, 300 milligrams. If you're a big person and you have a certain infection, you may get 500 milligrams twice a day. 500 milligrams. And the same as oxygen. If you have a certain problem or your brain tissue's damaged and you want to repair it, we can repair it in the hyperbaric chamber 80% of the time. But we dose you at what we call 1.5 atmospheres of pressure for 60 to 70 minutes. If you have cancer and you're trying to treat the cancer along with whatever other things you're using hyperbarics as an adjunctive therapy, we treat you at 2.4 atmospheres, which is much deeper, for 90 minutes. So you're getting more exposure not only by volume but by time as well. So oxygen becomes a curative element in the body, and it overcomes some of the problems that are created by a lack of oxygen. So I don't know if that makes sense to anybody.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay, good. Thanks be to God. Is there anything?
Absolutely. Amen.
Any other things on our question answer line?
Well, those are the ones that I had listed. I mean, if you want me to dig into my junk box and come up with some more, I suppose I could. People are always complaining. They complain about different things. They complain about, here's something for you, complain about getting along with others. One of the things that's changed in our country, which is really sad, is a lack of civility. People don't treat, like, for instance, you were talking earlier about treating people with kindness and such like that.
Hey, Jay, listen to me. I'm going to tell you something. They're not taught how to do that. They're not taught. They're not taught skills. You know, I can't identify with that because I was taught skills. I was taught all kinds of skills. From the time I was in the first grade, the nuns would grill us and teach us how to get along and teach us how to respect and teach us how not to argue but to discuss. And we had to practice. We were given skill sets to develop. We developed them. We practiced them. That's what we had to do. We had to learn how to write. We had to learn how to write. We had to practice every day 2 hours of penmanship. And we had certain kinds of paper. And the small letters had to go up to a certain line, and the capital letters had to go up to another line, and we had to deliberately write so it was all legible and beautiful. And we had absolutely incredible handwriting. When I learned to play the piano, we played the piano. The hallway was about 20 feet long, and there were rooms on each side with big soundproof glass windows in the doors. And the nun would walk up and down, make sure we were practicing for 1 hour. And if we weren't, we'd go to Brig. We'd sit in the Brig, which was our little jail, on Saturday and write the rule book. Every little thing we needed to learn to cope with whatever we were coping with at our age and in the future years, little by little as we progressed, we learned. You don't learn that anymore. You don't learn it anymore. When I substitute taught years ago, you didn't learn it. Every once in a while I used to, in the later years, I used to sub just for the heck of it. And I thought I was in a school for morons. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what I'm saying. And I'm comparing it to what I went through. So my answer to what you're saying is we have to be taught how to properly communicate. We have to be taught to respect people. We have to be taught when to stop. You can stop an argument by stopping. And if the other person is stupid enough to continue, you leave. That's all. Murders could be avoided by that. So what else can we do? You know, I don't know what else we can do. We can learn, we can teach, but we have to be willing. We have to teach people. We have to teach our kids values. Values. I don't know what values kids learn now. I had an education that was completely different, so I can't relate to it. I can't relate to it. I'm sorry to say. I just can't.
Well, it seems that part of the problem seems to be that for people to get along and to have the needs that they have, both the parents are working and they're not spending the time with the children. You talked earlier about the love and attention and everything, and they're not getting it because the parents are out trying to make a living to hold it all together, to make the car payments, the house payments, the insurance payments, and so on and so on.
Well, you know, I think there's some validity in what you say, but I want to tell you that I was raised in an interesting family. My grandfather owned a lot of businesses around, and his sons all had to go to the war, and they were running things. I mean, there were big ice manufacturing businesses all over the state. And ice was a utility in those days, in the time of World War II. It was a utility. And very busy, and frozen food business going into that, and banking business and whatever. And his sons, who were major parts of his business world, were all off in the war. And my dad couldn't go to the war because when he was 2 years old, he put a knife through his eye. So he only had one eye. So he couldn't go to the war. So he started running my grandfather. You know, he took over what the boys were doing for years, and he was gone. He wasn't home. He was gone. And my mother was working every day at the local plant and at the bank, every day. And I had no mother at home every day. I came home to a maid, Allie Mae, who was wonderful, and I loved her, and she loved me. Maybe that's the reason that I got a little more. I don't know, but I doubt it. I didn't have that influence of both parents with me, but I did have the nuns at the school, and there's a lot of jokes about nuns and how they, you know, I mean, they had the rulers on my hand. I deserved it every time, and I admitted it. I always deserved it. But we had them nurture us, and they taught us. So that's maybe where I got my skills. I don't know, but I didn't get it at home. I did not get it at home. I got love after my mom came home. She was the greatest mom in the world, but she wasn't with me after school all day long, and she was at the plant sometimes on Saturdays trying to keep things together. It's hard enough to keep things together when you know, when you're there all the time, like the boys, the brothers. But, you know, when you're a woman and you're there trying to figure out how to run the place and keep it from going downhill, you got a lot of things to worry about. So I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think our schools need to be doing more than they're doing. And I think we have to have values, and I think we have to have some kind of spirituality. Spirituality. You know, faith is all possibility. It's possibility, and that's how I learned it. It's possibility. It's not a certitude. You don't know there is a God. You don't know these things because knowing is actually the validation of a theory or the validation of faith. It's when your senses are exposed to something that becomes a reality once it becomes sensual. Once you feel it, you touch it, you see it, you know that it exists. That's a lot different than it being a possibility. And there's nothing wrong with teaching faith as a possibility. I'm telling you, without faith, we don't have any hope. And without hope, we're hopeless. Does anyone want to be hopeless? We don't want to be hopeless. We want to have hope. So I think we need to intersperse that with our whole educational system. We got a lot of work to do. And I think it's degrading rather than upgrading. So I don't know what to do about it. I appeal to everybody to look for excellence in every aspect of their life. Excellence. Be the best you can. Teach the people around you to be the best. Learn all you can. Practice faith. Practice faith. Learn about certain religions and faith practices. Just learn them for the sake of learning, and then, pray, hey, if there is a God, help me grow in faith. You can use your theory of possibility on anything. But we got to do something to make this life more meaningful, to give it some meaning, or why are we bothering to live? You know, when we die, and I don't think we die, I believe our body is a vehicle that we use, and that body doesn't work anymore, and we call that death. In the ancient language that Jesus spoke, the metaphorical meaning of the word death was continued existence. It wasn't dead and gone and rotten gone. No, it wasn't. And I think then that every time Jesus was speaking about death, he was speaking about this crossing over into continued existence, this going away. Yeah, you're going away from people you love on earth. You're leaving town. You're leaving town, but you're not leaving reality. Anyway, that's my belief. So do with that what you want. It's about, we got, what, 4 minutes left? Okay, do we have anything else we want to talk about?
Well, I can't think of anything at the moment. I was deeply inspired by the things that you said and your passion for it. And the only thing is that people have got to start to pick up on this. They've got to do something. They can't just sit around and complain.
Oh, yes, they can. And if they do enough of that, we're going to be go to hell in a handbasket, as my mother used to say. So we might as well get used to it. But the best we can do is the best we can. The very best we can. Chad, you're with me sitting here. Anything you want to add to what we're doing, the chaos we're in?
Well, it's funny you were talking about how people sit and complain, because I think it's become more prevalent in our society to sit and complain with the advent of the internet. People go on Facebook. I see it all the time. I don't have a Facebook, but my sister does, and I will see stuff that her friends post, and and people have their blogs. All they do is complain. That's all they do. It's hardly anything really happy anymore.
So there's a lot of negativity. So let's make our own internal vow to expose ourselves to more positivity, because we become what we're exposed to. Yes. You put a sponge in something, if it's poison, you're going to fill it with poison. If it's cream, it's going to be cream. If it's whatever, it's going to be whatever. So let's remember to be the best, to expose ourselves to the best. And if you have a friend who just fills you full of negative crap, stay away from them. Just stay away from them. Find good people and people to listen to, and programs on television that are uplifting, and priests and ministers and rabbis that give you good, wonderful, inspiring messages. You fill yourself with all of that. Fill yourself with good, solid food, good emotional support, and good spiritual support. You'll become well-rounded, and your life will work better. And that's my last word for the day. How many more minutes do I have? I have 2 minutes? Holy Moses. Well, I'll
tell you, one of the things I would like to do, I would like to thank you for being on the radio so that we can share these things, because I'll tell you what, if people don't start doing something, it's kind of hopeless. And what I'm hopeful of is that when they hear you, they will respond in a positive way and do something and start to change their lives, because you're giving them wonderful information.
Well, my grandma used to tell me, honey, get your butt in gear.
Amen.
Get your butt in gear. So we all got to get our butts in gear, and remember to do the very best we can. Do the best for yourselves. Worry about what you put in your mouth, because what you put in your mouth becomes part of who you are physiologically. Worry about what you put in your mind, because that becomes a part of who you are mentally and psychologically and emotionally. And you will be in much better shape. And I just wish that every one of you will have, or make, not have, just make, create a week that's filled with hope and faith and possibility. And I want to thank you for listening to our show on KCAA 1050 on your AM dial and 106.5 on your FM dial, and soon to be on another station that'll go more west, another FM station. So we're really growing and we're expanding our listenership, and that's very exciting. I call it orgasmic. Take care. Have a wonderful week. God bless you all. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Give yourself the investment of a lifetime. Enjoy this holiday season in a luxury estate home at Charleston Estates, the only new home neighborhood in prestigious South Redlands and smartly priced from the mid-800,000s. Charleston Estates features gourmet kitchens and California rooms that make holiday entertaining even more memorable. Homes reach 4,463 square feet with up to 5 bedrooms. Ask about our discount HOA dues and move-in incentives, too. Visit MaliaHomes.com for details. That's MaliaHomes.com.
This is KCAA Loma Linda, the station that leaves no listener behind. CNBC News is next, a courtesy of BuySellMakeOffer.com, where you can post a video about items you have for sale. Sign up now. It's free.
BC Radio. Netflix gained just 880,000 new subscribers in the U.S. last quarter, far short of the more than 1 million it expected to gain. And because it spent so much expanding overseas and creating more original programs, it missed earnings estimates, sending shares lower in late trading. Earlier, stocks took a big slide after Walmart warned investors earnings could fall as much as 12% next year. Walmart shares plunging 10%, the Dow down 150.